All right, sorry about that. Hopefully, audio is fixed now. Looks to be fixed. Well, looked good to begin with on my end. Anyway, once we get confirmation, I'll actually do the show. Even no matter how much I test, there must be some gremlin or goblin on the attack preventing me from doing my job. So we will look for those goblins sooner in the future. So, all right, we're talking about cleaning filters. I put up a poll. 53% of you guys and gals are cleaning about every 3 months. And I think there's a lot of things that go into this. I think there's what type of filter. I think there's how much stocking do you have. But the great preamble I had and delivered in silence a moment ago was over the last 15 years, I have been in charge of overseeing hundreds of aquariums, all different types of filtration, and lots of things have been learned. So it runs different in my fish room than it does a display tank. It runs different at the store where stocking levels are much heavier. And so I thought, why not talk about how often to clean aquariums, or not aquariums, but filters, and maybe what type of filter, and kind of maybe push the bounds, because I've been doing a lot of research and I've been reflecting a lot on what I do and what I hand out as advice. It doesn't always line up because it's better or easier to advise someone to clean more often out of, I would say, like fear or something like that, than less often and run into problems. So first, what I'll say is I'm not sure I've ever run into a problem where I was having fish health problems in an aquarium from not cleaning a filter. Now that doesn't mean it could look terrible, but in terms of the actual quality of life of the fish going down, like a disease outbreak or something like that, I don't think I've ever witnessed that. There I think part of that goes because I also run air. So if your flow got crunched way down to where no water is moving, you could run into a no oxygen situation. I don't have that factor because I always run oxygen with, or I mean, an air stone or something to provide air. So that would be, I think, one of the reasons why I've never really run into that situation. And so what I do know from over the years and testing is that I think once an aquarium is established, once your filtration is established, ammonia and nitrite become a very minuscule part of the overall picture in terms of what are we trying to accomplish. Um, Weird, there's like an alert box on. Let me turn that off. Now, that doesn't mean if you have a newly set up a tank, a non-seasoned tank, you should definitely be worrying about that. But I'm talking about, hey, that tank you've got beside you, maybe you're working on it right now, listening, and it's up on your TV. That tank that's been going for months or years, the reality is it probably doesn't have problems with waste, as in nitrates and ammonia. And so, knowing that that's the case, how long can we go before that would be a problem? And to be honest, I don't have the answer to that because I've never run into it. I can tell you that I've gone at least a year, if not longer, on some canister filters. Now, the reason I think canister filters can go that long is because they're so big in comparison. Now, if you've watched some of the older videos, which I'm going to start redoing some of these because camera quality is way better, audio is better. I've learned a few things. A lot of principles still stand, still stand true. But I think Bob just texted me and got me off on the wrong tangent there. I think that the amount of waste that we're collecting in these garbage cans essentially does play a factor. If we're running a pre-filter, that matters. If we're running very fine filter pads, that matters also. And in general, the way I run my aquariums, I try to run it so I can go the longest amount of time possible without having to intervene. And it's not that I don't like cleaning, it's that I like keeping a lot of fish. And so I think when I did the count, I was somewhere around 29 or 32 tanks, somewhere in that range right now. And if we were to say, hey, we're going to clean that aquarium or that filter once a month, that's at least one a day. And that's not sustainable. I learned that very early on in my career working for another fish store where they had 300 aquariums, and it was just me and the owner. And the owner never had time to clean aquariums, so it was me. And I could not do the job where I have to catch fish and help customers and do all that and get 10 aquariums cleaned every month. And so it would routinely fall behind, and we had lots of tanks that would get 6+ months or sometimes a year or longer between cleaning. Now, a lot of it was putting out the fires, and I don't recommend being in that scenario where you're so far behind in a fish room or your tanks that on a Sunday you're listening to this and you go, okay, which tanks have to get done today? That one's overflowing, that one's gonna flood, that one, the flow's real low. That's, I think, a design error a lot of times. And if we're designing around our lives, I think it's important to be realistic and go, am I going to get to that every month like I thought? Or every week? Or every 3 months? And if you're not, that's where I start recommending, well, what steps can we do to get those schedules more lined up? And so for me personally, that might be adding like a pre-filter sponge. So I've got one right there on this CChem title. And it's not a silver bullet. If you neglect that, it just kicks the can down the road. So let's say the intake of a standard hang-on back with nothing on it, it gets a leaf on it and some crud on it and some of this and the flow, and maybe I have to address that every 4 weeks. Well, if I put this very coarse pre-filter on there, maybe I have to address it every 3 months now or 2 months. And so that extends my cleaning window. Now, by that absorbing gunk and collecting it for me, it's easy to grab that with a bag, go clean it, and I'm done, and I've serviced it in 5 minutes or less. I take it to the sink, and that's what I do, because I'm doing kind of a pre-filter mechanical filtration. Yes, it will grow bacteria and stuff like that, but that's not what I'm using it for. I'm mostly using it as a guard for the main filter. The main filter I want to run for a very long time without having to get in there, and we'll maybe talk about some reasons why I want that. So by not having to get inside the filter, one, I'm saving time, but two, that colony of bacteria and everything can continue to evolve. And maybe when it starts, it's just bacteria that's breaking down ammonia and nitrite and, kind of getting the cycle going for you. But eventually, maybe you're getting some critters living there. Maybe you got some scuds or some copepods or, infusoria, or maybe a worm or two, maybe a shrimp or something got in there. And you get this little ecosystem going. And that ecosystem can handle more than just converting ammonia to something non-toxic. And so I think that ecosystem is an important one to try and, I'm going to call it guard or preserve as long as you can. And I think this is some of the wisdom we've seen over many, many years where it's like, hey, don't clean the aquarium and the filter in the same day. Hey, try to have multiple filters so that you don't have the big reset, as it's called. Instead, you can kind of clean one or a portion of one, and then maybe a few weeks later you clean the other one or a portion of another one. And that's kind of what the pre-filter does. It turns your solo filter into a two-part process where you can get in there and clean the pre-filter today, and then in a week or 2 or 3, go and maybe you got to service the main unit, but you leave that pre-filter alone. And so you have backup bacteria, but also all the extra creepy crawlies that we actually want but don't really understand. And when I say don't understand, you can look it up and you can say, hey, here's all the things that could live in an aquarium, but not a lot of them are visible to the naked eye. And when we disrupt that, we lose out. And we get a little bit of that when we're talking deep sand beds, or we're talking, plenums, we're talking refugiums. We're talking live plants are kind of the best version of that, of like, this is this thing we grow that is helping our aquarium and yet isn't part of the filter. So you might have a hang on back right now, or maybe you have a sponge filter right now, and maybe you have a fine sponge where it collects all the material out of the water and it clogs up once a week, and you got to clean that. And if you're only running on that, I feel like you're a little bit on, you're a little bit on a razor's edge, because eventually it's Christmas, and then you got sick, and then you had a busy week at work, and now it's been that 2 or 3 weeks, and the aquarium is not operating the way it should. And so I'm being distracted because you guys are apparently getting ads, which you should only get an ad when you join. I don't know how to stop. Let me see if I can. Yeah, well, I don't know. So what I want to try and do is talk about what are some choices we can we can make while setting up filtration to achieve a target cleaning schedule. And so how often should you clean your filter? All right. I think we should clean it the least amount possible. Now, that doesn't mean that we want to neglect it. And I'm trying to think of an analogy that would work, of like, how often do you want to go shopping for groceries? Well, me personally, I'd like to go the least amount possible. You might be forced to go more often because you want fresh produce and you want these things, but in a perfect world, the least amount of trips I could make would be better for me. And I think that, kind of translates to filtration. The least amount of times I actually have to clean this filter, that would be better for me. Now, I don't necessarily want, like, yep, you only have to go shopping once a year, but it's a 4-day event. I don't want that either. So I can't trade that one for one. So I need to make sure that it's doable also. And so if you have that hang on back, putting a pre-filter sponge usually will give you some of that buffer room. Having a second filter will do that a lot of times too. Maybe you have a hang on back and you add a sponge filter. Maybe you have a canister filter and you also run a sponge filter. And I think looking at filtration in an overall bigger picture, right? Why do I keep saying sponge filter? Why sponge filters, Corey? Well, because they also work really well in a power outage. And so I find that to be very beneficial, because running big canisters or hang on backs can be difficult, even with a generator and stuff, of like, okay, I gotta run cores and I gotta do things. You can get battery backups for air pumps. You can run one big air pump for a bunch of aquariums. There's some options there. And so when I'm looking at the big picture, I want to diversify usually the types of filtration if I can. And I want to make sure that I'm covering some extra bases. How, is it going to help me through a power outage? How easy is it to clean? How expensive is this thing? Can I afford to do this? And is it accomplishing what I want? And so having two filters, I think, helps a lot, because one, kind of like, imagine you got a big mess in your garage. And if you have one garbage can, you start cleaning the garage and that thing gets filled quickly, right? You're like, yep, got to take out the garbage. And then you take it out, maybe you put it wherever it's got to go, and then you're like, oh, I need to grab something to drink. And then, oh, maybe I need a snack. And you get less efficient because you're doing that. Now, if you have two garbage cans, or you go, hey, I'm going to bring 5 plastic trash bags out, and I'm going to start going through and getting rid of and sorting. This has to get donated. That has to do that. You end up being more efficient. And so I think, filters are that garbage can, and having more of them does help. You have to clean them less frequently. You have to take them out less frequently. And so there is a portion of how much physical room in a filter to how often you need to clean it. On the other side of that, how much fish or food or type of food are you feeding? If you're feeding very messy foods with lots of fish, you know, if you clean up your garage and you make a mess the following week with a big project, you got to clean it again, right? But if it gets dirty really slowly, well, maybe you're only doing spring cleaning once a year, right? So in this tank, like behind me, it's on screen, so it's a good one to talk about. I actually run a air stone because I always want the air. Could be a sponge filter, just don't have one on there. I run the Seachem Tidal hang on back. Not in love with that. Still, you know, even with the adapter piece, I'm kind of still don't love it. And I'm running a Fluval 407, and I'm running a pre-filter canister filter on the Fluval 407. Still judging that. Kind of not digging it. Kind of adds capacity. And then both of them are running pre-filter sponges. And so this allows me to go a long time without needing to clean them. Now, what I want to talk about, because there's got to be people going, you know, you're listening on your TV right now, and from across the room, you're like, this guy, he's totally like, the water's not clear, fool. Like, that's what it's all about. You're not wrong. But what happens is the more gunked up your filters get, the tinier the particles they will pull out are. Now, this isn't just a scale that will always get better. There is a point in which you cross a threshold and it gets worse. And so if we're looking at a 3-month or a 1-year timeline, it depends, right? So I know that on like my 230 gallon tank, I can go a year between cleaning the canister filter. And eventually, maybe at month 10, 11, somewhere in there, I go, water's there's a little bit more particle than I like in there. And so that's usually what will lead me to, let me clean the pre-filter. And then the next week I'm going, yeah, it's still not very, crystal clear like I like. All right, it must be time to do the filter. And so what happens is your canister or your hang-on back or whatever, it collects stuff. And the holes might start out, I'm going to use this. They might start out this big. Well, eventually, like even in pipes, right? If you've ever cleaned any of your filters, you'll know that over time, gunk will form on every flat surface, and that brown mulm gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and eventually it would actually just clog. It would clog to where nothing's getting through, or so little's getting through. And what happens is what's called channeling. So eventually you've got this matrix of nooks and crannies in your sponge or whatever, and it collects little debris, and it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going, it gets a little more clogged, a little more clogged. Well, as it gets more clogged, it takes out smaller particles. So smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, which is good because your water gets clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. However, eventually it closes off. Like it's now collected so much gunk, there is no more room. If you've ever cleaned a canister filter and you squeeze the sponge, or even a normal sponge filter, you squeeze the sponge and then you open your hand and it doesn't come back, like it's like, that's fully filled. There's no water going through that. It is just a brick. And when you hit that point, water goes around those bricks. They don't go through it anymore. They're not finely filtering anymore. And so that's a point where, when you clean, you're going to take this brick and you're going to get it back into something that's pliable and has lots of holes in it and everything. The problem is, and I think you don't really stumble upon this until you've been doing it for a long time, you watch it. You clean the thing, and then you turn the filter back on and sprays some gunk back into the tank, and you go, that's a bummer. And then it cleans the aquarium. It pulls stuff back out. But what I see is usually the aquarium, after I clean it, the filters, it is not as clear as peak filtering. Now, peak filtering, I think, is somewhere in that 3 to 6 month range. So you clean it, it starts collecting gunk. For the way I keep fish, you might have such a crazy system that you're getting peak filtration in 2 days because it's going to clog in a week, right? But in my situation, after like 3 months, the pores again, it's collected enough gunk to where it's filtering out pretty small stuff again. And because of that, the water gets the clearest it's ever going to get in that 3 to 6 month range, all the way until maybe month 9 or 10. And then so it's on a big curve, right? Here we are clean. It's pulling out bigger particles, but not the finest ones. We kind of hit this peak where, oh yeah, it's really pulling out fine stuff and doing well, but clogging over time. And then you've got the worst where it's not pulling stuff out really very well anymore at all, and it's working its way down towards that curve. And I think in a perfect world, we're noticing when it comes down to that curve, like, ooh, it's getting worse again, knowing that when we clean it, we start back over here, and it's still worse. But you're working towards getting better. So I'd rather be worse getting better than I was good and getting worse, and I know it goes in this circle. Because if you don't clean it, eventually it will just fail. After years, maybe it takes 5 years for that motor to burn out because it's been working so hard, and even though it's not filtering stuff out. And so trying to observe that cycle, and every cycle is going to be different for everybody. Your sponge filter, your hang-on back, your canister filter. And what I would say is designing a system that allows you to maximize that top of the curve. That, I think, is what we need to strive for. And so that might be, oh, this tank gets 2 canister filters, or the canister filter gets bigger, or I'm cleaning I'm adding pre-filters because I didn't have pre-filters. Now, the pre-filter would do that as well, right? So it's going to start a clean state. It's going to start clogging over time. It's going to get to where it's getting out the tiniest particles over time, and then it's going to start getting too clogged. And if you buy a sponge like on Amazon, they're going to be a very fine sponge. They will start clogging quickly. They will start polishing that water quickly. But then that peak point goes away really quick, like 2-3 days, gone. And so that's where you do see people, oh, pre-filter burns out your filter, and I got to clean that thing like every 3 days. It's a pain in the butt. That doesn't get you that window that we also need. We need that, I got sick, and it was Christmas, and I got busy at work. You need to have that window. And so that's why we don't just pack every canister filter or every hang-on back with the finest stuff we can find, because we don't want to clean it every day. We have lives. And so some of this you can hack your way through, right? So when we think about filtration, and I had not thought about it this way for a very long time, there are chemical filtration, like maybe you need to absorb tannins or just chemicals. There is like biological. So I would say converting ammonia and nitrite into nitrate. Chemical process going on there. But then I think there's also the mechanical part, which we kind of know about that. And then I think there's, and I know this from saltwater, and I've been reading it, some of it in freshwater, and I think it to be true without being able to really prove it to people yet. I think there's this extra filtration method, and I'm going to call it, I hesitate to call it natural, because then I feel like people will be like, oh yeah, dirty tanks. Like, no, it's not that. It's this ecosystem, basically, that kicks in, like a bog filter for a pond, or miracle mud for saltwater. In freshwater, I think it's the mole. If you've been listening, some of the people in the chat here have been here for years and years and years, like 10 plus years. You know that I've had lively debates with Greg Sage about mulm. Is it good, is it bad? I've had the same thing with Dean. I have this belief that mulm, which mulm is kind of the brown gunky stuff, is beneficial to an aquarium. I didn't have a good way to say why, other than the tanks that did have mulm perform better for me when breeding fish and doing things. That's the only way I could really quantify it. But the mulm is the bedrock for seed shrimps and copepods and scuds and worms and little critters. It's the bedrock of that. And when you add that in to normal mechanical filtration, normal biological filtration, normal chemical filtration, there's still more filtrations, by the way, but those combined become very strong at making an aquarium clean. The other ones I would throw in there is UV sterilization. That's one way to control green water and kind of white cloudy water and some pathogens, stuff like that. And then the last one I would say would be fine polishing pads or material or diatom or any of those types of things. Those get clogged really quick, but you get polished water. We like polished water, but I think there's a method to the madness here, and getting all those to work together. And I've been on this journey for like the 800 gallon. Right now, we're kind of getting away from how often because we're still trying to comprehend like what is this whole system going to look like. I think if you're like me, you try a bunch of things, but you haven't tried all the combinations. So I would, change the stuff on the 800 gallon, go, let's go super fine filtering. And I've got polishing pads, and I've got this, and I've got a $500 Diatom filter on it right now. And you go, okay, well, that gets this much result. And then you go, well, that's not doing it. Let's change it. So now I'm running big UV, and I'm running coarser filter material, and I'm running lots of bio rings. And it's still not perfect, but it's different. So then you change it again. You go, I'm going to run a big old sump with filter socks, Metalla mats, fine polishing pads, under gravel filter, and bio rings, like 100 bags of bio rings on top of that. What does that do? Different, but not perfect. And so what I think is going on is we don't put together all of the elements. Not that every tank would need every single one of those elements. We look at it as this or that. Not so much, I need some of this, some of this, some of this, some of this, right? And so if we were baking a cake and it comes out and it's not right, the way I've been practicing filtration is, it needed a little bit more flour, a little bit less flour. Instead, I go, well, let's change out flour for rice flour. And then I bake a cake and I get a different result that's not perfect. And then I go, all right, well, I don't have any normal flour anymore. Let's leave the rice flour. Let's change the amount of baking powder I put in. And then I get a result, and it's not good either. And so I keep changing things and not getting the result I want, even though some of the pieces were probably correct. But I swapped those pieces out, going, we're chasing, as I've been chasing the dragon, chasing perfect water. And so I think one of the biggest pieces that I've been missing, and I think a lot of people might be missing, is that if you want cleaner water, clean your filter more often or do more water changes. What I suspect is that I actually have some bacterias in my well water. And the outcome of that is a little bit cloudier water. And the more I change water, the more it doesn't help. And I've put in the 800 gallon, the valve actually stuck on, 3 weeks ago? And it changed water, open hose basically, for 15 hours straight. You know how clear that 800 gallon looked? Not any cleaner at all. So we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water through that aquarium. Not any clearer. Like maybe a little bit, maybe, but you would think like, oh yeah, you do a 10,000% water change, that thing will be crystal clear. Was not. Now, that kind of led me to like, well, why wouldn't other aquariums have the same problem? Well, the filter ratio to amount of water was different. Every ecosystem is different. Some have a little bit of cloudy water, some don't. Some have physical debris, some don't. Some have green water, some don't. And by trying to treat all of them the same, I'm getting varied results. And so I would implore you to look at your system. What is serviceable easy, and how often should you be doing that? Kind of like a car. Now, when you need an oil change, you don't replace the engine every time. You go, okay, well, I do this one at this. I do brakes at 30,000. I do tires at 40,000. I do this at this thousand. Yeah. So I think that we tend to approach filters as an all or nothing. I got to do the canister filter, and I got to do the hang on back today, and I got to gravel back, and I got to do this. And that's resetting all of them. And I think that if we kind of write it down and go, okay, well, what if I did the pre-filters every 2 weeks? What if I did canister 1 every 3 months, and I did canister number 2 every 3 months, but I want them to be as far apart as possible? And that's kind of the routine I'm trying to put together for the 800 gallon. I've got 2 of the biggest canister filters that they're on the market that we can buy. And I was thinking of like, I want to take it to where I'm really only servicing the actual canister once a year in a perfect world. I want to try to get to that point, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? If I said, I have a filter right here, I can sell to you, clean it once every 20 years. You'd be like, that's great. I love it. Let's do that. We want the result with the least amount of work possible. So that's what I'm working towards, but I want to set up reminders, like repeating every 6 months in my calendar, clean the left-hand side canister filter today. And yeah, I won't be doing it that day. I'm sure I'll be like, okay, this week I got to clean it. And then 6 months from then, it'll remind me, the one on the right-hand side, go ahead and do that, right? And then you've got things like pre-filters. You've got things like the UV sterilizer that I'm going to reinstall that I did take off because it seemingly wasn't fixing it. But I do believe it fixed one of like the 5 or 6 elements that is part of that aquarium. So maybe that also gets replaced every 9 to 12 months just from use of a UV sterilizer. And get these things to where I've got a schedule that will be cohesive instead of, well, it's Christmas break, so I'm going to do all of it. You get overwhelmed, you burn out a little bit, and you'll get these ups and downs of by doing both canister filters, by swapping out the bulb, by doing all the pre-filters, by doing, fine pads, that kind of stuff. It's a total reset. And I think that is easier to do, as in, oh, I've got the time today, I'll do it all. And not the most efficient, though. I am also thinking about the water. And what I've been thinking about water is, and I had a conversation with a nice woman yesterday at the Greater Seattle Aquarium Society. And they were having some problems with some dropsy, with some goldfish. They've had them for 10, 12, 13 years in that range. They've had 3 of them. And they're starting to kind of lose them to dropsy. And I said, well, not that everybody would think this way or anything, but I'm not convinced that water changes are always helpful. And I had to explain that I believe that when you do change water, there is some stress. And that might be because you got the water temperature a little different. Maybe your water is a little different because of what the municipality has put in it, or my well water is different, or there's a little bit more or less chlorine, or maybe you put a little bit too much dechlorinator in this time or not enough. I think inherently messing with the tank or the ecosystem causes some stress, right? And they were doing water changes every week for these goldfish, and I go, okay, well, we're in a point where you're not getting the result you want. I would start trying to mix it up. Like, what if we did, instead of 25% once a week, what if we did 75% once a month? How would that change it? It's, in theory, less events, less resets every week. And I think there is something to that. Like, I recently changed my water change system, which is automatic. It's super easy to do. I changed it from every day. Some tanks, like my 10 gallons, got it twice a day for 2 minutes. 2 minutes on, off for a long time, 2 minutes on. To once a week. Because, and I've gone through this back and forth, I don't see a benefit to changing water every day. I don't get more breeding. I don't get more clarity. I I don't get more things. And so I started thinking about, well, I'm doing a thing and I know I can't see a tangible difference in being better. Let's try the opposite of do less and see if it gets better. Under the assumption that less can be more sometimes. And so I'm running that experiment right now because I up the water changes going, I want clear water. And I can literally hit a button. Like it's so easy for me. Like let this tank behind me right here. We can do a water change with the push of a button. We're gonna press this button right here. And it's gonna get a 10-minute water change. Boom, there it goes. You watch it come right on the middle. The fish will be swimming against it. You can see the bubbles. 10 minutes of water change could not be more simple. And yet, with unlimited water changes, the water will only get so clear. And that, maybe if we look back to like the garage scenario, you can sweep that garage 1,000 times. But it's never going to look as good as it did day one. It's not going to look as good as like, oh, I'm going to epoxy the floors or do something like that. And so at a certain point, maybe sweeping your garage once a year is fine, because doing it every month or every week or every day, there's diminishing returns. And I've been thinking about that concept a lot. Growing up, I didn't know what diminishing returns meant. It was just a magic card to me. If you're a magic nerd, shout out. But now I've really been thinking about it, like there is a lot of diminishing returns in the aquarium hobby. And what diminishing returns means, if you don't know or understand this, or at least this is the way I understand it, because doesn't mean I'm right, is that at a certain point, you do a thing and you get maximum value. And then when you do more of that thing, you get value, but not as much. So maybe you do the one thing, you get a 10 out of 10. But you do it twice, and the second time you only get 9 out of 10. You do it 3 times, you only get 8 out of 10. Maybe the 4th time you only get 5 out of 10. And so there's a point where changing water just literally doesn't even make it better. Like you've gotten so much water through, it doesn't do anything. And so I think that myself, over the years, I've made it so easy to do it, and we're so afraid of the other side being the new hobbyist that hasn't changed water in months or years or whatever, right? That the conventional wisdom is you can never change too much water. You can never have too much filtration. You can never, and I think these things, it's easier to say that than say, we're 37 minutes in, and really, I haven't even said, oh yeah, you should clean your filters every 3 months or a year or every minute, because it's such a complex question. Instead, it's way easier as a company, as an advisor in a Facebook group or a forum or a creator to go, you know what? Every 30 days. What temperature for aquariums? 78. And just make these rules, because it's so much harder to explain how we got to the rule. And then, as you're explaining how you get to the rule, it's real easy to poke holes in that logic. But Corey, I have 37 Oscars in that 150-gallon tank. That ain't going to work for me. You're right, it's not. But then you got to explain, maybe 37 Oscars aren't meant for that aquarium. Or maybe if you only fed frozen food, you could actually get away with that. Or maybe with this many water changes, right? So, adding more plants can help too. Certain floating plants as well. Looking at duckweed. I think in terms of talking water clarity, I think there's also a component of lighting that goes into that. And floating plants can dramatically change lighting and the way things happen. But I do think that avoiding any extremes, cleaning the filter every day, never cleaning at all, not using filtration, I think what happens, and I'm sure this will get me in trouble, someone's mentioning LRB Aquatics, Lucas Brett's, good dude. He doesn't run any filters. That's a style. I've done stuff like that. I think we all go through phases in aquarium keeping where you figure something out and you latch onto it for a while. And after you latch onto it for a while, you learn all the pros and cons of it. But usually over time, it will adapt. And the reason it adapts is because the longer you do something, the more you can figure out what goes wrong with it. And then you go, well, how do I solve that? And you get to a point where it works really well for you. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to solve that question, right? I want my tanks to look amazing for me. I want it to be least amount of work for me. I want it to be perfect. And that's different for different people because we keep different fish. We have different water. We have different budgets. We have different goals. I've got employees that love black water aquariums filled with tannins. I hate that look. I can appreciate it. I can understand they like it. I can understand it in the wild. I don't like it. That doesn't mean it's wrong, right? So, but their goals being met. Like, yeah, brown water looks great for that style of fish. Let's see here. I thought I had a poll I wanted to do. Let me think of the poll I wanted to do. I wanted to know, I want to know what type of filters. So I would imagine a lot of people listening to this after the fact or listening to it right now in the comment section, what kind of filtration do you prefer? Now, you might prefer canister filters, but you run 100 sponge filters out of money or whatever, right? But what type of filtration do you prefer? I think it'd be interesting to know. So we're going to say sponge filter. We're going to say canister filter. We're going to say hang on back. And we're going to say a sump. And it's people always say like, well, clarify the poll more. There's only so much I can do. Like, it's not necessarily which one you use more, which one you'd prefer. Like, just cast a vote. I'm interested to know, like, I run pretty much all of that. And if you ask me which one I prefer, it really would depend on what are we trying to accomplish. That is a big portion of all of that. And so I run a lot of sponge filters because it's easy. So I also wanted to talk about, at our own store, what we're doing is we're basically cleaning sponges about once a month. Some tanks, if there's ever illness or it just visually looks like it needs it, it triggers a, hey, let's do that today. But in general, we're wanting to clean the sponge filters and gravel vac too, but once a month. There's been times we've gotten it down to once a week. We've done it twice a month. It depends. There's so many things that go into that. How much staff do you have? How much fish do you have? And some tanks turn over a lot faster. Those fish keep selling. These ones aren't selling. There's a lot of factors. And from what I can see, in an overstocked fish store, it would appear about roughly once a month is where I consider it to be a sweet spot. And we're using medium-sized sponge filters. So when I say once a month, we're not doing the display tanks with canister filters once a month. We do those like every 6+ months, really. But we have pre-filters on them. We have fine polishing pads outside of it. We have, things that we are servicing, but not the main unit every month. So far, it's kind of a big tie almost. So we got 38% at sponge filter, 27% at canister, and 30% at hang on back. So, let me see if I can close this down. Yeah, there we go. Let's see here. Is it true that mulm is mostly inert organic material and most of the bad stuff has leached into the water column as ammonia? I believe that to be true. I don't know that it's true. I haven't done a study and will probably never do a study like that to really know, is mulm inert? We watch science people battle it out on how many bacteria are even doing work in an aquarium. Is it this one? Is it that one? That's why I latched on a long time ago to fish room science. What do I see happening? Because what's happening in my aquariums is the truth to me. If all the time, especially early on in my career, that's not how that works. Great, easy green, I was told cannot be done. And yet, like, well, I'm doing it and it's working really well. No, it's not. But it is. And then it works for you guys. So I adopted fish room science of like, what am I seeing? That's what I'm believing. Now, there is a very big hole in that logic because what I'm seeing is what's happening. It's very easy to not see what's actually going on. I didn't see this bad side effect. And so we witness that in life all the time. Like, it's, you have to see it to believe it. And just because, one of the ones that maybe we've all experienced at some point in our lives, I didn't realize how much money I was spending on X, whether X was coffee, magic cards, video games, Uber Eats, subscription, like money in small amounts just goes out and you don't realize the totality of it. And that can go on in our aquariums really easy. I didn't realize all these little factors added up to this. Kind of like if you ever audit, this is real nerdy, I'm this nerdy. If you ever audit like the cracks around a door and you measure it out, like, okay, well, how much, it's a little bit of air can get around there. You add it all up, it's like a baseball size hole in your door without weather stripping and everything, like in your house door. And then you're like, well, of course I would fix that. Like that, a lot of air comes through that baseball sized hole. And yet most doors have that much air going around the gap of them, but you can't see it. And so when you actually do the math and you total it up, you go, oh my gosh, this is a huge problem. But when you see just a crack, I can see a tiny bit of daylight there, and like I feel a little bit of air over there. That seems my words are mixing up. Inconsequential, insignificant, maybe just insignificant. I can say that word. It seems insignificant. Now I'm doing that ROADS thing in my own brain. ROADS. So whether is it 100% inert by the time it's mold, I couldn't tell you. I can tell you that from my observations, it seems beneficial and not detrimental to me. Dr. Ted Coletti chimed in a little while ago. You allude to the point that hygienic laboratory tank does not exist in nature, and that is not what our fish, plankton, bacteria, plants, biology evolved in. Yes, there definitely is that too, and I think there's a big two ways to look at that. What fish, or I've done this with humans, but what fish live in the wild doesn't necessarily mean it's optimal either. And what we want for our aquariums doesn't necessarily mean it's optimal for a fish either. Usually I'm catering my tastes to visually what I want to see. Or really, honestly, I'd say it's 50-50 between what I want to see and what the camera or the viewer wants to see. And so, like, I have that problem where, oh, this tank looks amazing. And on camera, like, oof, not so. But what can I do to change it so it also looks good on camera? Because if I was truly only doing it for me, I achieved that. And I think there's something to be said for that too, of we're trying to achieve what we think is best for our aquariums. Whether it's, maybe we do want tannin water. Maybe we want very blue looking saltwater type water. Maybe we want just, air clarity, which I would love to have that. But am I willing to do a crazy amount of manual labor every day to get that? No, I'm not. I want the best of all worlds with the least amount of work, and I'm chasing that, right? The filter I use depends on the application. I used fine sponge filters for my fish room, and I prefer canisters in my home centerpiece aquarium. Yeah, I'm actually trying now. What I want to try is running a canister filter on a 40 breeder, because I want to see what if I upsized the physical amount of sponge. So right now I've got a sponge filter this big and never had a problem with die-off, breed lots of shrimp, everything's fine. What I want to know is, like, what if I had a sponge filter? Well, yeah, what if I had this bad boy? What if I had this sponge filter in the aquarium? Now, this sponge filter physically won't fit in the 40 breeder, but you can get this much sponge in a big canister. Like the biggest Eheims will hold this much. So if I have to clean a sponge filter I'm going to call it every 2 to 3 months. Could I go 2 years if I had this sponge in a canister filter? The answer might be yes. And so when he started asking like what's better, I don't know that necessarily one is better than the other. If I only had one aquarium, I could do either. But when you're running 30 aquariums, like, oof, I could go years between cleaning? Like, that sounds pretty good, actually. Now, that you have a $15 sponge filter or $200+ canister filter. You also have power requirements. So there's a lot of stuff that goes in there, and then you still have like, well, I got to put a pre-filter. I want to suck up the shrimp. So, yeah. What's this tank? What's this for? This I came back from China with. I was on the subway transit system holding this bad boy like this. And then I flew back home with it because I had to have it. I basically begged the store. It was a prop. It was, and I think I had to pay like $30 or $50 for it. And then get it all the way home. It's heavy, like this base is, no joke. But I had to pay an overage charge, like flying home from China because the bag was too heavy and everything. But yeah, we're having some made. I don't know if we're having 75 of these made, and I'm not exactly sure what we're doing with them yet. I know I want to get some to some stores, like they're going to be, be green, hopefully, and we're going to do a big box for them, and so they can be display, but maybe we'll find a way to either sell them or I don't know, something. They're shockingly very expensive. I started down this rabbit hole project with Randy, and I was like, yeah, let's do that. How much could they be? Like, our cost, like, I don't know, $15? No, it's way more. Like, I think I have to sell these things for like between, and I don't even have the final cost yet because we haven't made boxes or anything. I think they'd have to sell somewhere between like $75 and $100. So they're purely like put it on the shelf. Well, I shouldn't say purely. They are functional, but like I don't think the average person that would have a giant aquarium would be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy. They're like meme value and like put it on a shelf or as a display. Like that thing is crazy, and not. So I think we've got like, I don't even know how many we had made, like 50 or 70 or something. Because I'm into it for thousands. This project that I thought was gonna be like, just throw them on the next container that we're doing, it'd be fine. Turn into like, oh, this is like a lot of money we're spending on this stupid project. And I say stupid because in my mind it was it was this little thing, and I was like, oh wow, that escalated quickly. So I learned that my fish don't need to be fed every day while on vacation. I was worried how dirty my filters would be when I got home. I was shocked at how clean they were. Now I don't feed daily. Yeah, I would say that's a good segue of like how much you put into your aquarium is how often you need to clean your aquariums, and what are your goals. Now, if I fed every other day, my fish would grow slower. They might have a little bit less color. I wouldn't get as many fry, but I do less maintenance. And so for me, I'm willing to do more maintenance for more of those things I explained. You might not be. I definitely have had times where we only fed every other day, like at a store, like the store I worked at. We also had it where we would definitely take a day off. And I think that was some sound logic. I think most things in aquariums are, I'm going to call it true, but not necessarily right for you. So my old boss, when I worked at a store, his philosophy that he wanted taught, and I can get behind it because it makes sense, was you never want to feed more than 6 days a week. So at the 7th day, your fish are hungry, they're cleaning up any leftovers, they might pick at the algae, and I've recommended that, and I don't think it's bad necessarily. Now, I'm trying to condition fish to spawn, or I'm raising babies. That is kind of different than maybe this tank, where it's like, yeah, if you take 1 day off a week, you will go, hey, those fish are starting to help clean up a little bit. And so feeding every other day, I could see that as well. But I think the bigger thing here would be making sure that long term, it's like, ooh, are they getting enough nutrients? Are they losing weight? Are they not breeding anymore? Are they, finding the system that works for you? Because maybe you feed like Captain Sano like I do, and every other week would be fine, right? But maybe you're feeding very sparingly. And I've run into that. I've run into where people got so up in their heads and read on the internet that they were basically starving their fish. When I would be like, well, how much are you feeding? You're feeding 2 pellets to your betta every 3 days and it's losing weight? Like, yeah, stop that. Feed more. Yeah, but I'm so afraid, like, this thing is it's whittling away. You would much rather have it be healthy and like live a long life than die early from malnutrition. But sometimes we get stuck in our heads and we just go too far down a rabbit hole. Gills to Gardens. How's it going, buddy? This thing it'll be definitely more than 50. If we had to ship them, they got to be like $100. This thing itself, like, even if you just make a box for it, right? Like, you take this off, the uplift tube. This is a giant box. Like, I have a canister filter for reference. If you own this canister filter, you know what I'm talking about. This is the biggest canister filter money can buy. This is the Eheim 1500. This is the big sponge filter. Shipping these things, it's like $30 to ship this to someone's house. This is heavier than this. And this has media and stuff in it. This weighted base is like solid metal in here. It's no joke. So it definitely will be one of those crazy, like, we're technically selling them, but it is for the lulz, for the memes only. Like, yes, it is functional, but, like, I put the kibosh on it because we were talking about maybe making the easy flow system, and it was gonna be like 20 grand in molds, and I was like, this is spiraled so far out of control that we're not doing that. Like, let's just cast this in green. Let's cast this in green. Let's do a really cool box. And if we can get the acrylic tube, this is acrylic, not normal plastic. So I don't know what they're gonna do about this, but if we can get that in green, that'd be cool too. Oh, they'll sell out because we haven't ordered that many. I know stores will want them. We have hundreds of stores. So if we put them for sale, this is how a lot of things start. Like, we're into this for like, I don't know, 5 to 7 grand or something. How much money do you want to spend on a gag gift, basically, of like, oh, but they're really popular? Like, yes, but no one wants to be holding the bag when you're holding $30,000 in giant sponge filters, and all the people that wanted them got them. Uh-oh. Yeah, $20,000 meme. Yeah, we're not flexing like that. Does it come with a big old airstone? No airstone. No airstone. Yeah, googly eyes. It could. You should offer it to your reseller stores. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the problem is, if we price a product that needs to get sold, like, we still have to ship it to the store for free. And then, like, it gets hard to make sure everyone gets to make money in the chain. I'd have to inflate the price. And it's like, this is kind of just like, it's a cool thing. It's not a I don't know, a staple or something. I don't know what to call it, but it's, yeah. So the poll ended with 37% of people using sponge filters or prefer sponge filters, 28% on canister, and 28% on hang on back, and 7% on sump. All right. Let's see here. So we're about an hour in. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. We've got a little over 300 people participating. If your grandma is sitting there doing nothing, make sure she's got us up on the iPad. You know how it goes. Put us on the TV, hang out, and really, I'm committing to this. So you can build into your routine. If you want to do maintenance on Sundays, I'll be here. And yeah, what else? I am going to miss some. I've got some travel coming up. The next travel I have is Keystone Clash. I'll be there I'll be there the 25th and the 26th. I fly out Saturday night so I can still do the live stream on Sunday, so I won't miss that one. But if you're going to be in Pennsylvania, come hang out. It'll be cool. I'm giving a talk on Friday, and then like a Q&A type of group event on Saturday, I believe. I believe that's the schedule. I'd have to double check. And then I've got a trip to Brazil next month. If probably the first of some of you have been hearing about this. I'm going with Chris Lucup. And we're going to do a lot of underwater filming. When I kind of film the adventure, I'm mesmerized by clear water and seeing tropical fish, like for our aquariums underwater. So I'm hoping to get decent at that. And yeah, I'm going to be there the travel is 4 flights there and 4 flights back. So it ends up being 26 hours each way if there's nothing that goes wrong there. And I'm going to be there for 13 days. So it ends up being like 17 days. It's going to be kind of a long time I'm out of pocket. So I'm going to miss a couple live streams there, but I think it'll be worth it with the footage and the cool videos I can make. So yeah, just want to get out and explore. So expedition time with Chris Lucup. Yeah, we got some new members here. Thanks for the people that have been donating the memberships. I appreciate that. If you're new, we hire a speaker every month to give a talk, kind of like this, except they're an expert in their field, which maybe they're talking about rainbow fish, or maybe they're talking about African cichlids, or breeding Corydoras, or medicine, or whatever their area of expertise is. We pay them. They give a talk to the members. Kind of like your own local club, except online, so you don't have to leave home. You can just tune in, and if you miss it, I was busy, well, you'll watch it a little bit later. You can also save 5% on the website. There's also a members-only kind of like scratch and dent section. There's probably other perks. Oh, yeah, the Deep in the Mold podcast we're putting out every week, where it's Randy, Zenzo, and I in an hour to hour and a half long thing that talks about fish and non-fish stuff and what we get done at work, and it's kind of a different thing. If you're looking to fill time that's loosely around fish, that's a great thing. So you get 4 of those a month, basically. Yeah, some upcoming videos I've got. I just filmed at Candy's house this week, so that'll be coming out maybe next week. And I'm working on a video. I've been down the rabbit hole on flow rates for canister filters, basically. And the overall thing for this video will be, without changing canister filter or anything, I was able to double the amount of flow by changing the plumbing. And I learned a lot. I bought a flow meter, and so I'm going to turn that into a video, because I think we're missing out on some efficiency by going, oh yeah, I had this part, so I did that. Something simple like this, like I had 2 pieces of tubing and I had to adapt it. Well, something like this would cost you a ton of flow, and you might be saying, duh, but there's other things you're like, oh, I didn't realize. Like here's the bombshell. I should have just led with this, right? The bombshell is I had a filter that hadn't been cleaned, and it's very dirty, right? So it was on the 230 gallon tank, and it had the bricks, right? So, they're fully gunked. I ran the flow meter before I cleaned it and after I cleaned it. Okay, and this is on an FX4. The difference between a fully cleaned filter, where I sprayed it with a sprayer and got it clean, and the brick sponges filled with poop, the difference is 3%. And so if you have 300 gallons per hour, it's 9 gallons per hour. Like it's like nothing. From so clogged, the filter, like bricks, to clean. And so that was like, oh wow, if you had asked me, I would have been like, oh yeah, probably like 50%. I was expecting big gains, like, oh, watch this. And then to go, okay, 3%. Like that kind of becomes a non-factor. And so that's where I was thinking, like, I would have thought that a clean filter versus a dirty one, way different flow rates. And so that was half the reason I would I would clean filters like, oh, well, I don't want the flow to slow down. I don't want this. And then to learn like, oh, it literally is such the tiniest piece where there was like parts you could swap out where you'd gain 20%, 30% by doing some things differently. Way bigger impact than actually cleaning it. I would have never thought that. And so to be able to, I took video clips of all the little testing I did and be able to talk it and package it up. I'm hoping to package it up in like a 10 to 15 minute video of like, here's the best practices that I could find. What tips do you guys got? Type of video. So I'm watching Corey while my wife's screaming at the 49ers. Two different vibes. I'm pretty chill. Screaming at the 49ers. Pretty hype. If you have Corey's, direct the flow where you want them to lay the eggs. Works great for mine. Yeah. There's also like dwarf chain loaches and stuff will do that too. Also, a lot of the minnows, like the rainbow shiners, are that way too. And also, I believe a lot of Synodontis cats want that also. Are you and April's going to tie in so I can get some coins? I've been ordering from them since they started carrying the Aquarium Co-op products. Frank, I don't know. It's pretty difficult to actually sync up with YouTube. Lots of thousands of dollars to implement that. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll talk to Darren. Darren owns April's Aquarium, so I'll see like, is there a way? Do you want to try and manage that? Like they could send in an email, and we could try to keep a list. Like that seems cumbersome, but I get you. I'm not, one real roundabout way would be email customer service and say, hey, can you flag sync up your account with ours online? Email customer, hey, can you flag it so I can get my coins? Then you could technically place an order from us and have it delivered to like a freight forwarding service, and then they'd ship it to Canada, and that's how you get your coins. But I totally understand when you say, but that would cost me more money. I get it. And I'm just saying, like, it's a hard thing to manage and do correctly for us. Also, being that it's pretty difficult. So that would be one way if you're like, oh man, I really got to get these things. Could the 3% be specific to the flue valve due to sort of a bypass design? It totally could. I have not. Well, I also did them on the Eheims, and it was about the same type of flow difference, maybe even a little bit less, but they weren't so clogged they were a brick. So there's still some learning for me to do over the course of like a year. And so one of the long-term videos I want to try and do is... one of the reasons I want to set up a canister on a 40 breeder is I want to kind of set it up with an experiment where you have a canister filter and maybe I have a couple of them. And I load one aquarium with lots and lots of fish and feed it a lot, and one's maybe just shrimp and this and that. And then have a flow meter, and once a month take a measurement. And I think in a perfect world, if we could have a flow measurement that would basically tell us when to clean an aquarium, that'd be great. And so, I want to run that experiment, but it takes over a year. And then you might get to the end of the year and be like, oh, there's no data, no conclusion here. There's nothing really concrete that I could tell people. I still want to run the experiment because I want to know that. I want to know, like, is there a discernible difference at the end of a year? Or, ooh, I saw that 3%. I lost 3% at month 3, and then how, like, let's say I'd gotten to that 3% and it had been a year. In 2 years, is it still just 3%? Or, oh yeah, eventually it will actually clog up so much, it'll get down to like nothing. I don't know that to be a fact in a canister. Someone said maybe the pump. Yeah. The pump could totally do it too. Who's my favorite football team? I'm trying to think. I'm having a brain fart. Whoever Ted Lasso's team is. That's right. That's the other football. I will play football. I am not big on. I'm not big on watching American football. I still think making a modern selling for profit video that covers current day methods would be a great idea. Potentially. I think it's a niche market and it helps those people a lot. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I feel like fish availability is going down daily, and there's no there's no place to go. And what does that mean? That means, like, yeah, I can recommend go to Dan's Fish. I can recommend go to Imperial Tropicals and buypetshrimp.com and these places, but they're all individual stores. I can say, hey, go buy from my store. Go buy from your local store. But there's no good place to sell, I think. And so when you're breeding for profit, you need that. And so whether that's is someone finally going to make a good Aquabid? But I think about it going, is definitely a portion of Aquabid not doing well was not updating their infrastructure forever. It's still not great. But I also think there is a portion of it that goes, well, everybody who wants to sell fish can now set up their own website pretty easily with Shopify. And so that is some of the pie. Where I think you'd have to make a website so popular that it was better for you to sell on that website than it is your own website. Now, it's not impossible, but you got to have a lot of traction. And so, I'm just going to use this example. Let's say we set up a giant way to do it on our website. It's a pretty popular website, and it could work, but there's a lot of headaches that come with that for us. But I think that's what we need, because just like you guys, I want to search for the rare fish in someone's basement. Like those don't show up at a Dan's Fish and Imperial Tropicals because they need to bring in hundreds. But what about an Aquabid? What was so good about Aquabid, I thought, was if you had 6 extra fish, you could make one listing and you could sell them. And sometimes those 6 fish are all that are going to be for sale from that person for years. And so you could just get these really cool things sometimes, or these really good deals, or you were more likely to find, the variety was huge, but that dried up. And then there's other factors too, like shipping got real expensive, right? And less reliable, I would say, for live fish. So I'm not even sure how I got down this rabbit hole, but the selling for profit thing. So I think to do that video right, I could tell you what to breed. I could tell you how to breed it. I don't have a great solution for how do you really distribute the fish and sell enough of them. And, every year it's gone down a little bit, like, okay, you can't really use Facebook anymore. There's some people doing it on Band app. There's Craigslist, not even really a thing anymore. So we're the internet is bigger than it's ever been, and yet as a fish hobby, we're more disconnected than we've ever been. There's a million different Reddits. There's a million different Discord channels. There's a million different websites. There's a forum. Hey, that's a great plug, Corey. You should plug the forum. Oh, should I? Oh, I will. Let me get that up here. Do I get that? Yeah. So let me plug the forum while I'm here, because I should probably do some of my job. Oh yeah, you should buy all of our stuff while we're at it. Let's see, is this gonna come up? Oh, it broke because I had to restart my computer. Let me see if I can get that fixed live here. Yep, we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go. Let me find it here. There we go. I fixed it. Okay. So if you go to the website, aquariumcoop.com. Okay. Let me so I can see that page. That would be helpful. And then you click on forum here, which is right next to shop. You can see our forum. And there's even a little top right thing teach you how to use it. And there's lots of topics. And what I will say, putting feathers in my cap here, we are a forum that's still active. You can see someone posted 7 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, an hour ago, 16 minutes ago, 2 hours ago. I posted about Melotenia calitawa. Yeah. We've got shrimp, we've got snails, so we're an active group. Now there's a lot of forums you can go to, and even the ones I love, like a Monster Fish Keeper, I hop into that section like, oh, there hasn't been a post in months on this section? Like, dang. So why I bring this up is this is a community, and you can't see it because we're not logged in here, but there is a fish selling section. What? You have to have been using the forum for a while, then you get access to it, and it's meant for people like you and me, hobbyists, to share with one another. Hey, I'm selling some fish, local pickup only, or hey, I'll ship them. It's not meant for big business to come in and be like, we're selling. We got 1,000 listings. It's you, oh, I have 7 of these. I'm looking for a new home, or hey, I want to switch my fish, or hey, it's that. It's not, and it's only fish. It's not dry goods. It's not plants. It's not this. Like, we're just trying to help in that aspect. But yeah, I if you're looking for an area where you could avoid real life, you know, I'm not, whether it's politics, whether it's just whatever craziness, and just focus on fish. Here's a weird changes in the hobby. What is that? The rise of planet tanks, the difficulty in finding good information. This would be funny if it's like, yeah, aquarium co-op sucks. Shifting equipment and stores, like, yeah, so there's real conversation, I think, actually happening. And if that's appealing to you, yeah, you have to make the effort. Like, you're gonna have to go here, and that takes work. No doubt, it does. It does take work to go there. You have to. You're not gonna get notifications on your phone. You're not gonna get like, you know, emails. Hey, you haven't logged in a while. Like, you got to remember to go there and have the conversations. But you can, and you know, we moderate it pretty heavily. There's no fighting and that kind of stuff. And yes, do we have a Facebook group? Yes. Does everybody have a Facebook group? Yes. Is there a million places you could go? You totally could. I'm trying to hold on to that old internet, the 15 years ago, where you'd get to know other users. Oh man, Larry2746 just had another group of this fish. I've been waiting to try and buy some of these. And so, yeah, if that's kind of your jam, go hang out. If not, that's fine too. Yeah. Did I miss the jewelry sonic cleaner update for cleaning air collars and air stones? You haven't. I haven't done anything with it. So, I have not. I'm trying to make my guppy pairs at the $60 to $100 range for enthusiasts to keep genetics. Yeah, if that includes shipping, that seems okay-ish. I'm in a bidding war with Primetime Aquatics on Aquabid. Fun. My local club's super active as far as selling fish on Band. I've gotten so many plants from Band too. Yeah, I think it needs to be, like, something needs to win. Like, I've tried to use Band like 2 or 3 times, and I'm just the old guy, right? So like, hey, I get it. But every time I get in there, I'm like, this is just counterintuitive. From a guy that doesn't use Band, the learning curve seems high. Like, man, I just wanted to see what fish are available. I want to buy some. I don't want to have to learn how to use a platform to do that. And so that's I think a website is really what needs to happen, but it just hasn't happened so far. No one's been able to be the successful successor, say that 5 times fast, to Aquabid. Aquabid, I mean, I even if Aquabid, the owner of Aquabid, like, I would love it, like, hey, do a total revamp, do a marketing campaign, come back with a vengeance, make a ton of money, great. I just want to be the user. I want to use it, I want to buy fish, I want to find cool stuff. Sounds great. If you get to make some money doing that, even better. Or someone else. But we've had a lot of attempts, and it's a very long-term difficult thing. You got to get a lot of old crotch people behind you using it. You got to incentivize them. You got to advertise. You got to have the right platform. You got to. And so far, no one's been victorious. Sacramento Aquarium Society Band is awesome. Yeah. You know what's more awesome? A website that would just be like aquabid.com, buyfish.com, fishforauction.com, something like that, where any device, anywhere, instead of like just saying band is so small as an app. Most people, if I told to them, they'd be like, "What's that?" Where if you already have a barrier, right? Where if you just say, "Oh, you go to hobbyfish.com and you can bid on fish like eBay." Everybody now understands that. Everybody will ever mention to go, "Oh, I know what that is." But when you go, "Yeah, you got to go to a band, you got to make an account, and then you could see fish, but you got to find the right place." Like you'd have to find the Sacramento Aquarium Society band. Oh, like that's the other thing too. Is I think part of the Aquabid successor, it has to focus on shipping fish to people's homes. Because if it's all filled with, oh, it's all local communities, it never grows big enough. Like it only can ever grow as big as the society is, right? So I think there's potential there. I just don't. I've said this before. I don't know if the amount of effort and money that would have to go into it to make it work would ever pencil out. It might have to be a charity thing where like some, you know, Eheim or Fluval said, "Hey, we're going to invest $500,000 to pull this thing off," without ever really returning the money. Which that's a real hard ask for any business, honestly. I mean, I can make giant sponge filters, or I could put some money towards fish auctions. Yeah. The benefit of Band is you don't have to support the infrastructure yourself. It's more like Facebook than Aquabid. Yeah, it's not worth the trade-off to me. Yeah, I had trouble with Band. It was confusing. I literally couldn't figure it out. I tried twice, and I didn't spend hours, but I'll do this. I'm like, okay. It was John's Guppies, a guy I like, a guy I know in person, a guy I support. He's like, here's my band list. And I click on it, and I go, why is this? No. How? All right, I don't know. I don't know. Let me know when you. I literally texted and I was like, let me know when you put up another video about what you got in, and I'll try to buy that way. I'm not doing this. And then and then I wanted some fish again. I tried to do Band again. I was like, yeah, no, it's not, no, yeah. Aquabid has kind of become a lot of larger businesses selling on there too. So often, 3/4 of the pages listed from Dan's Fish, who's awesome, or a reseller, or someone who needs a transshipper. Yes, that was the case for a very long time. It used to be where if you dropped into like the shrimp, the guppies, you maybe have 8 pages, and you'd have the same amount of auto listings from some of these places, but you'd have over 50% would be hobbyists. Now when you go there, the hobbyists have pulled out. I don't think it's just because they list there. I think disproportionately, I think someone like a Dan's Fish, let's say they had, I'm going to call it 100 listings on Aquabid or 200 listings on Aquabid. Well, 200 out of 10,000, not very many. 200 out of 1,000 listings now is a lot. And so I think the bigger part, I don't think it's the businesses are the problem. I think we need to figure out, why is it not worth the home breeder to do it anymore? Is it because they have their own website? Is it because they have their own YouTube channel? Is it because shipping got too expensive? Is it because there's not enough people going to Aquabid, like a chicken and the egg thing? Is it figuring that part out, I think, is what solves it. Not so much get rid of the business. Let's say we got rid of all the businesses. So now instead of 1,000 auctions, you have 300 auctions. I think that only actually hurts the platform at that point. It only makes it worse. So I think there's a lot of things. I think as always, there's always so many pieces that go into something. And you might be like, well, businesses being on there is a problem. Like, let's say we agree. But is it 5%, 50%, 95% of the problem? I think it's probably more like 5%. And so fixing that doesn't fix Aquabid. So I think there's probably a lot of factors, and you got to fix these 10 things will get you back in business. The fact that you pull up let's see if it's still that way. Aquabid on mobile, they haven't had a mobile version in forever. It's still, they still don't have a mobile optimized thing. So like that right there is probably 50% of the problem. Honestly, that is a huge portion of that pie. The fact that it does not have a mobile version is a huge problem. Knowing that every day more and more people are phone users as opposed to desktop users. So, and if they were really on it as an Aquabid as a company, which is just one person as far as I know, they'd be going, well, how do we integrate this with TV and other things? They haven't even embraced mobile. So, yeah. Stefan says, I'm a simple man. I look for the add to cart button. I agree. So there is that too. Like the lists, those aren't add to cart. There are many times where at 11:30 at night, I'm ready to spend $200 on fish. The minute you put a barrier in by tomorrow, I've moved on. I don't even buy the fish anymore. Like in that, like let's get those on the way. Oh, you've put a roadblock in. I've now completely given up on this idea. What do I not like about the blue ivory guppies? They didn't stand out in any way to me. They're okay, but not something I liked, I guess. Probably, and people might like, what do you mean? Like, well, there's a lot of different dog breeds. Well, why don't you keep that one? I don't know. It just doesn't call to me. But you keep Chihuahuas? Like, yeah, I like those. Why? I don't know. I like them. Like, oh, but would you keep this other dog? Like, yeah, I would. Why? I don't know. I kind of like it. Like, sometimes you get down to like, it just doesn't have the I kind of like it vibe. What's wrong with it? Nothing. I mean, all dogs are cool. I don't know. That one's not calling to me. So, Mountaintop Puffer Keeper says, it makes me wonder if the scammer effect knocked out some of the hobbyists from Aquabid. Good live foods on Aquabid usually. Yeah, I would bet that's part of a portion, right? Like, there's always people that will be bad actors, whether it's a seller or a buyer. There's not a lot of support from shipping companies, USPS, FedEx, all of those, like where when something goes wrong, they're kind of like, not us. And so I think there's, and maybe there would be, right? Maybe someone that starts whatever the successor would be like, these are the rules. If it doesn't arrive to the destination, it's on the seller every time, right? So it got lost in the mail. For sure, it's not the buyer. Like it's not on them. Now, where you getting weird is like, well, what happens when some fish arrive alive or dead or whatever? Like that gets harder to, but at least you could put some protections in of like, if there isn't a tracking number that says delivered, for sure the seller's on the hook. Now, there'd still be lots of gray areas. Like, what about when it lands and it says delivered, but it got delivered to a neighbor and it says it was my house, but it never showed up? You can never prove like, oh, are they lying or did it actually get delivered to a neighbor? But you could still at least go, hey, these things we know to be true. Like, we know that if it didn't even get a delivery thing on the tracking, that at least is still on the seller. And, so there's things, but yes, I think it's a piece. I just don't know how big of a piece that would be. Will killifish ever come back? No, I don't think they were ever here. Killifish are super cool. I just think that they're too niche because I think the general populace loves community tanks. And what I mean by that is not specifically just planet community tanks. African cichlid people, they want to mix fish. Central and South American people, they want to mix fish. Killifish, yeah, you can kind of mix them a little bit, but they don't lend themselves well to that at all. And so I think it'll coast along being as popular as it's ever been. Kind of like, yeah, killifish are super cool and they look really good, but some of them don't live very long. Some of them are finicky. They like jumping. Some don't play well with others. So I think it'll just be kind of niche unless something happens that I don't understand, which could totally happen. Will my products ever be available on Amazon? I won't ever say never, but no plans to. You never know what the future brings, so it's hard to say never, but they don't give me any reason to. Like, us going on Amazon, if we went on Amazon, we'd alienate all the businesses we sell to. That's not great. If we went on to Amazon, I'd lay off more than half of my staff because I wouldn't need them anymore. We don't need people to pick and pack. They'd be gone. Wouldn't need a warehouse, really. Need one like a quarter the size. People that help run the warehouse, they'd be gone. So, and then I'd be doing all of that so that when I sell on Amazon, I make less money. So it's one of those like, yep, I could radically change the way we do business, all for the worse, but would make it slightly easier for the customer a little bit. So yeah, at the moment, no intention to, because I also don't like being at the mercy of other companies if I can help it. Like YouTube making a change, not a lot I can do about that, right? I like to be in control. Like our forum, though, we control it, so that's nice. We have sold on Amazon many years ago, and it was a nightmare because, well, okay, like Aquabid, it was never Amazon's fault. So if something got lost, we ate it, not them, even though they were delivering it themselves. If the customer asked for their money back, they would give it to them, but we'd still lose all the fees. If they returned the product, it would go back to Amazon and they would charge us money to store it because it wasn't new anymore. And so then you had to pay them to destroy it or pay even more money to send it back to you. So the business model of Amazon, they make their money off of me, the business, not you, the consumer, which seems counterintuitive. But the amount of money that is spent, let's say an item is $8, I might spend $7 between buying it, picking fee, packing fee, shipping, mandatory advertising fee, chargebacks, returns, storage fees monthly, having to split it up between 7 different warehouses, all those things. It makes it very difficult. And don't get me wrong, there's tons of businesses that operate fully on this, but it is it's just a completely different model than what we want to be involved in. Just fixed my flat tire, so I'm finally able to join. All right, things are looking up. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Candy says we did sell on Amazon. We were highly restricted. Yeah, so one of the biggest problems we had, so when we were selling like in Canada, for instance, they would only let us ship to Canada like 360 bottles of, I think it was 367 or something like that, of Easy Green. We would then sell out in 3 to 4 days. Then Amazon would penalize our listing because we were sold out, but also would not let us send more. Pretty frustrating. Like, we would go, how about we send 5,000? Nope, you can send 367, and then we'll evaluate it a month later, maybe we'll let you get more. And then they'd be like, yeah, you can now do 385. And be like, sweet, that is 2 hours more. That's not going to work. And as we kept trying, it never worked. And so we're like, we just need to abandon this. Because we at least thought, okay, we were not in Canada, let's try that. It was a nightmare. And so we've actually done Amazon twice now that I think about it. And both times, it never lasted more than like 6 or 8 months. And going, yeah, this is just not. And this is coming from, we had Randy who worked at Amazon and would fly all around the country to the different warehouses and was high up. And we still could not gain traction. Like, we know how it works. We are attempting to comply, and they wouldn't let us comply to even do it right. So it led to a lot of people being angry, like, you're always sold out on Amazon. What's the deal, bro? And it's like, yeah, Amazon won't, yeah, they won't let you send more. Sure. Like, no, that's literally what's going on. That's literally what's going on here. And every time we'd launch a new product, they'd be like, yeah, you can send 80 units. And it's like, that's not how launches work, though. We're going to sell those in a day. So we kept asking, like, is there a way we can get minimums up? Can we prepay money? Can we, like, what needs to happen to actually get this working? And the answer was, you can't. Okay, then. Well, then we just won't. What day is your new fish list updated? Because I want to see if you get any more pea puffers. I think we do it on Fridays. I'd have to look on the website. Because we do update it weekly. Our fish store list. It should say when it gets updated. So it got updated on the 13th. That was yesterday. So maybe we're doing them Fridays, Saturdays, somewhere between there. But it'll always say when it's last updated. We get fish shipments a few times a week. 2 to 3, depending on the week. And on average, those land between Monday and Thursday. But we update Fridays and Saturdays just because they came in doesn't mean they're out for sale. They got to go through quarantine. So, yeah, we got to, get fish in, musical chairs them around, get these lists updated, which is better than we used to be. We used to never offer a list because the other problem we run into is you might be waiting for pea puffers and we say, we have many. And then a bunch of people were waiting. You come in and you're like, oh, we're sold out. Like, yep, we sold 40 of them in a day. Like, sorry, that we didn't see that coming either. Let's see. Got my first Easy Green from Amazon in Canada. Could never get it again. Yeah. Yep. Now you got to get it from April's Aquarium, which they do keep it in stock, and it's a lot easier to deal with. It makes it sound like I got to deal with them. A lot easier to partner with them than it is to deal with Amazon. I'm trying hard to buy local and only use Amazon if I can find it in driving distance or order from a small business. Yeah, it's hard. We've been talking about this deep in the mom a little bit, and personally on the back end, like for plumbing parts and stuff, I keep going to like Home Depot and Lowe's. I look up the parts. They've got 12 of them in stock. I drive over there. I get there. They don't have them. I dig through everything. They don't have them. I ask them to look for back stock. They don't have them. And then I end up going to buy them online. And lately, the one example is like, it was like a Saturday night or a Sunday night. I'm like, I can order them now and they'll ship Monday and they'll be here Tuesday. Or I could just go tomorrow. And so then I went and then they didn't have them. And then when I went to ship, I'm like, now I'm not going to get them till Thursday. Like, I'm losing time. And that keeps happening over and over again. And so this weird thing is happening. I've been going to Home Depot because I'm working on this plumbing project a lot for this video. And each day I'm there, I see less and less hardware store, more and more Best Buy. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're old and crotchety like me, we remember a time when Best Buy wasn't just selling cell phones. You'd go in and be like, yeah, I'm looking at TVs, I'm looking at DVDs, I'm looking at video games, I'm looking at printers, networking stuff. Like, it was a computer store, basically. Computers and stereos and that kind of stuff. And over time, pretty soon they're like, actually, it's all appliances. We got toasters, we got fridges, we got freezers, we got dishwashers, we got... And they just kind of... And then pretty soon it's like, well, we don't even sell DVDs. We don't do these things we used to do. And that's what I'm seeing with Home Depot. If you walk into a Home Depot right now, at least mine, there's literally a whole aisle to clothing now. Yeah, it's hoodies and it's Milwaukee brand and Carhartt and other stuff. But then you've got 5 aisles of Halloween decorations and crap, right? And so what's happening is they're getting further and further away from the thing that they do, which is making it harder for me to justify going there to get the thing that they do. And so, they literally have like 25 different types of plastic skeletons. Very high profit margin items. I have no doubt they are making more money off of plastic skeletons than they ever will from PVC parts. However, they will cease to exist for me if they don't have PVC parts, because other stores can sell plastic skeletons. I can order plastic skeletons online just like I can PVC. But they're losing sight of the fact that if I have a plumbing leak today, I want to go and I want to buy that part today. If I need a skeleton, I don't have to have the skeleton today. And we know that with aquariums, like we need to have heaters, we need to have air pumps, we need to have backups for when storms happen, we need to have medications. You get rid of all that stuff. You don't need to come to our physical store anymore. And so much so when I first launched the store, that's all I was going to carry. I was going to carry heaters and meds and fish. Because everything else you can just buy online. Why buy it from me when you can buy food online? You probably get a better deal. You get a better selection. We ended up carrying the other things because people wanted to pick that up while they were there. But I think they've lost sight of the fact that if you don't have the things that you have to have for the type of store that you have, you're going to lose people. If you've always carried belts for a riding lawnmower and I show up and I want to keep mowing my lawn that day and you don't have belts for a riding lawnmower and I got to order it on Amazon, it's going to be here in 3 days. That's one less trip I'm ever going to make in there. And we're really at a point where I almost don't want to go because I know that even when I look up the stock and the employees always give me the riffraff. They're always like, well, did you make sure you look at the right store? A lot of people don't look at the right store. We might not have in stock. And then I show them on my phone, like, here's your store number, here's the aisle, and here's the bay. We're standing here. Does this not say 12? And they're like, oh, I guess our system's wrong. I'm like, that's what I was saying. Very politely, I was saying, I did check. You're supposed to have them. Can you help me find them? Kind of need them today. And yeah, so that's my rant about Home Depot and Lowe's is the further you get away from not keeping the stuff that we need, the less I'm going to go there and the more I'm going to be forced to buy online. Even if I want to support locally, which I do, they're making it real hard these days. At least at mine. At my 2 local hardware stores, they're making it real hard. I went the other day for totes and buckets to move fish, and it was hard to find them. I'm like, it's Home Depot. Where's the paint buckets? Yeah. Here's a little story. Everyone knows Home Depot buckets. Well, now they have like 1 gallon mini Home Depot buckets with Halloween decorations on them so you can use them while you trick or treat. Like instead of actually carrying the PVC parts, they're focusing on Halloween crap. Don't get me wrong. If you need Halloween crap, awesome. Buy Halloween crap. I just don't think of Home Depot like, yeah, they're going to have the biggest selection. And maybe that's the model they want to take it. They want to be the next party store. Sure. You're just not my hardware store anymore. Like, that's the problem I'm running into. What time does the store close? Like my store? Sunday, we close at 6. I had to do weekly cycle counts. That's what I keep wondering too. I keep going, we do cycle counts all the time at our warehouse. I'm thinking, how? So the other problem I have with the PVC parts is you get to the spot it's supposed to be, and you're like, okay, it's supposed to be right here, and you're like, there it is. You dig your hand, you're like, well, that's not the part. Okay, there literally will be like 7 parts that aren't the part you need in the thing. And I realize all day long people are putting them in the wrong spot. I own a retail store. This happens all day long. You know what you do? You pay employees to sort back through it and make it easy. And so that's the other problem is I think people are cycle counting and they're just looking going, yep, that's what that is. And it's like, nope, that was threaded to slip fittings, not slip to slip. Your inventory is now wrong. And like, if you're not scanning them, you won't catch that. And it's just frustrating for someone like me that I didn't just show up. I looked for it. You had it. I then walked in. You didn't have it. Now I've wasted time, and it's a big bummer. The other part of the problem is, let me see if I can do this demonstration live, because it will probably blow your mind like it blows my mind. Home Depot. 2-inch. Oh, I got all these pop-ups. Let's go here. And 2-inch ABS cap. There we go. And let me pull it up on Amazon. continue. There we go. 2-inch ABS cap. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So let's take a trip on the internet, shall we? We'll all go together. We will hop on to, here we go. We are now looking for, this is something I have to buy fairly routinely. I have to buy 2-inch ABS caps, right? And at Home Depot, they got a bunch. They are $11. $11. Well, $10.84. These things used to be $2, by the way. You hop on Amazon. Look at this. I can buy one for $6. It'll be here on Friday. No, or I could technically get it tomorrow. But there's all these different ones. So I can pay almost half the price for that PVC item that half the time they'll be out of. Dean and I have literally been there and they've been out. So then you go like, what about this thing? This thing's half the price. It's a flexible, and that's even better. Somehow they do have them, but it's things like that. Or like this little cap that's not waterproof, only 59 cents. So yeah, that's real irritating that if they don't have it and it's mixed up in the wrong bins and it's twice the price on average. Twice. It's not a little bit, it's twice the price. So yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to drive over there. Yeah, that's increasingly becoming a thing when you factor in like, okay, well, my time and effort, like let's just say you put, I'm going to say like an Uber price on it. It's $5. So now if you need one cap, you're into it for $15 from Home Depot. Or if you don't have to have it that day, or even if you do, because that's what the problem I'm running into. I do need it that day and it's not there. So I go there and it's not there. So I have to order it anyway. But I can pay $6 or I can pay $15 for the same part. And that's a huge gap. And I would tell every fish store out there too, like you can't have that much of a gap. You got to be in the realm. If it's $6 online, I'm willing to pay $8, maybe $9 if I really need it that day. I mean, no, that's not true. I'll pay the $11 because I've done it before. But routinely, you don't want to be that much higher, and you got to have it. That's the other thing. Like if you want to charge double, you for sure got to have the convenience factor. If you don't have the convenience factor, it's really going to break down. Oh, I'm definitely ignoring skeleton talks. My wife wants to buy like 7,000 skeletons. She's really good about like we should do all of that, and really bad about we have to store. Where are you going to store a bunch of giant skeletons? I don't need 20 skeleton scarecrows or something set up year round. I like local hardware stores. They have the niche stuff for the area and the guy that knows all the local contractors and the parts they use. Home Depot has Home Depot stuff and a guy on a cell phone. Yep. I think I told this story deep in the Mulm. I literally went there and the guy walks down the plumbing aisle, and this is like the first trip because I had another trip just like this. But he's like, and I was like, hey, trying to find this part. It says you got them in stock. And he went through the whole spiel like, oh, just because it says we do doesn't mean we do. I'm like, I know. Like, I'm looking at the right place. I show it to him. And he goes, well, I'm off in 15 minutes, so you have to find somebody else. Like, I literally was like, can we get the ladder thing? Like, you won't let me get on the ladder. I just want to look to see in the back stock up here. Do you have a 12-pack of these things? I just need one. And so I literally was told to go find somebody else. Instead, I just bought the parts that I had that I needed already, wouldn't complete the project, and then I left. Because I was like, I'm not going to chase people down to see if they actually have the thing when I'm already kicking myself for not already ordering things online because I'm paying more money than I need to. Yeah. But the guy literally, I'm off in 15 minutes, find somebody else. He was already like working his way back to clock out and not willing to help a customer. I was like, this, even when I can find a person, it's not good for me. I can't do it. And all the places you used to store Aquarium Co-op stuff on your property, now you have a Kentucky warehouse for that. We still got to store wood and rock. I have a container of this like in the next 30 days of wood and rock and Aquarium's landing. We still got to store stuff. Yeah. The best marketing campaign I've ever seen is Home Depot basically making people believe they need 10-foot skeletons and creating scarcity so people will buy 10-foot skeletons at big prices so they don't miss out. I find that fascinating. Of like, I went 40 years of my life basically without ever knowing that a 10-foot skeleton was needed. And then social media got a hold of it like 2-ish years ago. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, they actually have them. Get them while you can still get them. You need 10-foot skeletons. Like, they are cool. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know there needs to be like a stampede to get 10-foot skeletons. Like, I understand how they're cool. I don't understand the hype train. But that's not true. I understand the hype train. I just don't want to believe that it's a thing. Like, great marketing on Home Depot. I get it, but man, that is a weird thing to be witnessing. It's not peer pressure. It's just your turn to be on the Planted and Enchanted Friday live stream, Dorkula. One day, maybe you'll get her. One day. We've got a few minutes left. Do I have anything on my list that I haven't addressed yet? Let's see. I mentioned the forum. I talked about videos. Talked about... Oh, yeah. With the membership, I also wanted to say, I think it could be a little intimidating when people see like, oh, that person's been a member for 7 years. And then you got Personal Gunpowder, who's a new member. The best thing you can do is, what's that saying? Like, the best day was yesterday, but the second best day is today. Like, yeah, you can join today, and rewards start at the year-long mark. Well, I mean, you get like rewards in the weekly podcast and the monthly speakers and the 5% discount today. But like starting to get coins and the Yetis and all that other cool stuff. Like, most people would, I think, attest to this. It doesn't feel like it's been 1 year, 4 years, 6 months. Like, time flies in aggregate. So the sooner you kind of join up and hang out, the more it goes. And that's not me saying, hey, you guys better join up. It's just, I could see how it would be intimidating of like, I don't want it to feel like it's a club of everybody's been around a long time. Instead, I'm highlighting that everyone's been around a long time because they found value in it. Maybe give it a chance. And not so much like, ooh, it's, a club of old people. That's right. If you're at the 5, 6, and 7 year mark, you're old, like me. Can Rapashi stay out for a day? I think so. I don't know. I've done it a lot. I haven't had that problem. Try Tractor Supply in a farm store for PVC parts. All right. I don't have those as close, but yeah, I hadn't. Part of it is sometimes I'm looking for very, very specific parts and I have to go online. But yeah, for general stuff, I'm trying to get better about pre-buying, like just stuff like this, where it's like, oh, I know I use this fairly regularly. I want to buy like 10 or 12 of these at half the price instead of buying them 1 or 2 at a time. Every time I walk into a Home Depot going, oh yeah, I need some of those. I need water. Yeah, where did 67 months go yesterday? How much is the co-op shipping for plants? $8.99, or if you spend $75, it's free. Which I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, is it actually easier to get free shipping than it used to be? Because inflation and prices rising, like, it might be less plants to reach free shipping than it's ever been, basically. Which also means it costs more money, but everything's in flux. So it's hard to know where you're like, are we right where we need to be? Are we a little bit too cheap? Are we a little bit too expensive on the free shipping threshold? I'm not sure. I did see a crazy thing that definitely has maybe been thinking about for like a week. I saw that, so maybe I'm the only one, but let me know in the comments and if you're still here almost 2 hours in, listen to this after the fact, and if you're here in the chat right now, the price of a candy bar is insane. Like at Home Depot, because I had to stand in a line that was like 7 people deep for the 7 checkout stands where only 4 of them are working and only half take cash and half take card, and there's 3 employees trying to herd people into these self checkout stations. So I'm, like, okay, well, I'm looking at stuff. The candy bars, which were like, I don't know, the shareable size or the fun, not fun size, but like the big size or whatever, they were like $3.60. And that was blowing my mind. But what was blowing my mind even more is I saw somewhere that I think Hershey's or whoever, they're like, because of cocoa, the price of cocoa, like whether it's tariffs or inflation, I don't know. I don't know what causes it, but the price of candy bars for Hershey's is going up 26%. And I'm just sitting here thinking, wait, you're telling me that like a candy bar is over $3, and if you like work all the deals are like $1.50 or $1.25 or whatever craziness, at least in our area, is going up another 26%. This is insane. Like, this is just 50 cents when I was a kid. Now we're looking at $1.50, $2, like crazy town. So, and where I'm going with that is like $7 plant being $9 plant or $11 plant. Like, there's a lot of stuff in the fish world that is not proportionally leveling up price wise. Although I will say, I bought an AquaClear 110 the other day, and the normal price on those things is $110 now. Back in my day, Dr. Foster's and Smith, you get those things for like $55, so like double. So some stuff is keeping with that inflation level, but dang, I don't know what to think anymore. Other than I for sure would buy a hang-on back filter before I'm going to buy $4 candy bars. Like, we buy so much less stuff like that. Oh, by the way, I was also like, who would buy this? And then I walked someone up, them and their kid each got like the $5 small bags of chips at Home Depot. And I'm like, they're the ones buying the overpriced skeletons too. Like, I don't understand this shopper. Like, I'm in the wrong business. I could be selling bags of air for $5. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the chips are $3.50. All right. Yeah. It's just I don't know. I don't. And so the thing I keep doing is I'm on the trajectory of, are things getting out of control, or is age 42 Corey, is this standard like bell curve for crotchety old guy? Like at 42, is that the time when I'm supposed to be going, it's insane? I remember when candy bars were a nickel. Like, is that just par for the course? Or am I supposed to be 55 doing that? And it just seems weird that, like, we're getting to these levels of, where I just look at that and go, that's literally not worth that to me. And I'm doing that a lot more of, like, that is not worth that to me. With consumables. When it's something that's, like, reusable, if it's reusable, I think it's worth quite a bit of money to me. But it's when it's that consumable going, oof, like, that... Like, those chips won't even fill you up. Like, you're going to eat those on the way home. Like, and we're not talking like a big bag. We're talking like whatever the bags that used to be a buck for many years of my life, where it's like, oh yeah, it's that gas station size, like the dollar size has hit that. We're north of $3. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. I hit 40 and I just turned 40 and I aim to become significantly more crotchety. Don't overshoot that. Yeah. You turn it up to 11, bad things happen. Do I have golden dwarf barbs in the house tanks as well, or are they only in the co-op's display? Well, here, this is my fish room, different building at my house. But yes, I have dwarf golden barbs about 10 feet from me in a little 10-gallon currently. I want to try breeding them. Yeah. What is the grease to apply to gaskets, and how often to apply? I don't know how often, but I'll grab the brand I just ordered. And I ordered it on Amazon because, of course, nowhere has it, including my own store, so I fault myself on that. But I bought Aquaflex food safe silicone lube. meant to do O-rings and stuff for, yeah, gaskets, valves, seals, gears, and O-rings. And it should just be 100% food grade safe silicone. So I haven't done any of mine, but like I have Dean, like this filter's gone back and forth between me and Dean a couple times, I think, but this one sat dry for a while, so I was gonna re-silicone. And so let me be clear, like silicone grease like revitalizes the rubber seals, where silicone sealant completely different. Not talking about like the silicone in your aquarium, I'm talking about silicone grease to make sure like rubber seals and stuff stay hydrated and don't dry out and crack. So I was going to redo some of the seals on the lid and everything just as a precaution, where most times they go a really long time for like using them and they kind of get wet again from like, oh, you service them and service the filter. So yeah, so I bought that one because some of the stuff, like this is a pretty big tube of it, and I never have it when I want it. So I'm always like, ooh, I should probably do that. Like, oh, I don't have it and I don't order it. So I bought this to put in my drawer over there of kind of aquarium crap. And so next time I run into it, like, oh yeah, I have it this time. I should do it. So, why do I find I have to constantly clean my coarse sponge filters? Within a week, my water has a lot of debris and find it's not filtering. Squeeze it out, and within an hour, it's crystal clear again. That, I don't know. In theory, it should be the opposite. The more clogged it gets, the smaller particles it should be pulling out. Maybe turn the flow down a little bit. Like if you got the flow going way too fast, maybe... Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I don't really find I have that problem where once I clean it, it gets cleaner. I bet if we were there in person, we could figure it out. Going, oh, what about this? Well, okay, let me. Of course, yeah. So it's not an intake; it's probably an actual sponge filter. Yeah, I'm not sure. Am I carrying emergency Werther's original crotchety? Yes. Usually they're in my bag. Like I'll have some at the Keystone Clash because when my voice starts going, a Werther's original saves me. Yeah, I love to buy stuff I don't need yet, but will in the future, and then I lose it. Yeah, now I have like the kind of the epicenter of aquarium crap that, yeah, put it in that drawer. So I basically have like a aquarium junk drawers of like, yeah, it's gonna be in one of these. I don't have a whole tote filled with O-ring lubricants, so it's gonna go in the fish junk drawer basically, which gets lots of other little things too. How's the quest going on the super metallic gold guppies? We took another batch to the store. They're getting better, but not super more metallic or anything. So, inching its way towards better, I would say. He's going Werther's. That's right. Arizona iced tea is 99 cents still? Kind of. If you, like, I watch a lot of this stuff. It's only 99 cents where they establish the contract. So, Arizona iced tea actually makes some with the 99-cent logo and some without now, because there's a lot of places where it's like $1.60 something, and it's mostly like the Walmarts and some of the other places that can strong arm and buy them. Like, we'll pre-order $1 million of iced tea, Arizona iced tea, for a certain buy price, and then they can honor the 99 cents and work at that margin. So the answer is kind of, if you actually, and I follow a lot of this because in the business groups and stuff that I'm in, you'll see these things, it pops up, and we discuss them, and, like, how have they been able to do it? And then it's like, well, actually, there's very few places that still have the 99-cent Arizona iced tea in comparison, because it's gotten harder and harder to keep the price down. And it's, even if they don't make any more money on their actual product, moving Arizona iced tea from factory to destination has just gotten more expensive. Wages and, gas and just modality, which, everything moves over the course of time. Everything will move. It's just trying to get a handle. Is that proportional? Does that feel right? Like one thing, electrical prices are kind of going up, and so I've been looking at energy usage a little bit more. I've been starting to see how much energy your different canister filters, hang-on backs using. Do I need that much light in the room? Is this turning off and on? And part of it is like auto water changes. When you have auto water change happen every day, it kind of uses a disproportionate amount of energy to heat the water heater. And what I mean by that is I didn't realize that like a 10-minute water change on that will turn the water heater on for 4,000 watts for an hour to reheat the new water. And so if I don't need to change out water every day, maybe changing out every week is better, and will save energy, which is good. And so looking at some of those aspects as well. My 800-gallon light just came on, which I scheduled it to come on right now, just to remind me, like, okay, wrap it up. I got stuff I got to do because I actually have to get ready. I've got Gary Lang and some other fish people from the club coming over to have dinner here tomorrow. And so we got, I got a lot of plumbing parts and stuff I got to clean up and make it look more better. Yeah, because that's what I got to do. So I got to clean a bunch. Do I ever sell any of my ancestral claros at the store or know someone who carries them? In the past when I bred them, we did. I haven't put any real attention to actually making more, even though they're kind of in some tanks. So if I make more, yes, we will. I don't know anyone selling them. I usually watch Aquabid or the Wet Spot Tropical Fish. They'll carry them sometimes. They're always wild caught, so they don't come in a ton. Sometimes I can go years without seeing them, and then sometimes it happens all the time. I have the itchiest nose alive. I am just going for it. I was trying to do it like subtly, but no, I got wicked itchy nose. How's the 3D printing going? Have you been needing to ramp up? No, not really ramp up. We've been printing a lot of stuff at the warehouse. You guys have been buying a lot of stuff. CChem titles doing well. By the way, a bonus there is people are loving them for their like turtle tanks and stuff where they have water level low, so they can still use that filter. Yeah, we've got some new products coming out down the pipeline. I don't have any on my desk. Yeah, kind of. Playing with some different like feeders and stuff, but yeah, mostly just making sure we get parts right. Yeah, I don't have any more. But yeah, different intakes. Yeah, things. I would say easy wins. Easy is the wrong word because it makes it sound like it's not worth it, like to buy it. We've designed a few different intakes, and as they're rolling out, they've set the groundwork for other intakes. So we've done a square one, we've done round ones, we've got some things. So now adapting to each new type of filter is less time than starting from scratch. And so like this one's using both of them. I got one on the Fluval intake so I can run my big pre-filter. We've got the one on the CChem there. We've got the spawning mops. Yeah, I guess I could do that real quick probably. Let me get back here. So on the website, got to get to the right screen. There we go. So we got the parts section, which is new. So you can see like the CChem titles. Some other parts that we launched were replacement coarse and fine sponges for sponge filters. We've got the Fluval intakes. We make the Aquarium lid handles. We've got the replacement air pump parts for diaphragms. So that makes it easy to fix them. We've also got, breeding supplies, I think. We've got, the snail collector. We've got the Corridoras egg collector and the spawning mops. So we're continually putting out new stuff, but it takes a lot of testing. We don't want to just make a thing and just say like, yep, you can buy it now. It has to actually be, does this serve a need? Is it good? Did we do a good job at making it? And have we stress tested it? And so that part takes a long time to come up with a good idea and then make it as good as we can. We see, more and more kind of, I'm going to call them copycat products. popping up on like, yeah, I could 3D print one of those too, and sure you can, and then they're selling them, and it's like, but I know that's not optimal. I tested the version just like that. That is not as good as that, and so I do wonder, like, are they doing enough testing? Because just making a thing, yes, but and some are good. I'm not gonna say they're all bad, but I definitely have seen some where I'm like, I don't think you really did much testing on that. So yeah, we're doing testing on mostly it's things we can't get. And so what we're starting to see now, and I got to wrap this up, but what we're starting to see now is stockpiles are actually running out. So like one thing we haven't been able to get for a couple months now, basically. So you might be like, I just bought one of those a month ago. Just because you bought one from us doesn't mean we haven't been able to buy them, because we try to keep 3 months worth of inventory in stock on most things. We haven't been able to get like the Lee's worm cone feeder in months. And so we're now working on, like, when that's kind of always how our business model has worked, of either A, there's been a glaring hole and we want to fill it, or B, we can't get something anymore. And it's like, well, sure, but people enter the hobby every day. If they want a worm cone feeder, what are we going to sell them? And so we've been working on, I was supposed to hit print before I started this, so I'll hit print after, but I'm optimizing some worm cone feeders of, how concave are they? How big are the holes? What would I do? What do I want? Does it double as a feeding ring like it does? And this is the one we're actually not going to launch, but so yeah, we're working on that kind of stuff, and yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought what I was talking about, but got to print them. Brine shrimp eggs, yep, too expensive, not bringing any in. Those are they still could ruin the company, basically, of people want them. Even Gary Lang in the meeting yesterday was like, get them, Corey, and he knows. He's like, tariffs are brutal right now, and how they can ruin us. It's not that I couldn't pay the price for them right now today. It's that you have to put something into production. So let's say we put, $200,000 worth of them into production, and that includes tariff with that, and the shipping and all the stuff that goes with that. And then something politically happens, and now they're $400,000. Well, I don't have $400,000 in cash sitting around, and so then you'd be thinking about, like, am I going to take out a loan? And then brine shrimp eggs are a lower profit margin item, and so you don't want to overextend, even though it's a great product and we love it. We know people are relying on it. We don't want to crash and burn on something like that. So on one hand, you might be like, why would you work on this giant sponge or some of these other projects? Well, they're pretty low risk, where brine shrimp eggs, because they have to stay frozen, they're very high risk. If they double in price and go to 400,000, there's not warehouses that will keep them frozen sitting around for 6 months, a year, until maybe the price changes and we could bring them in. So yeah, we're waiting on the rules of business. And instead of politics, I just call it the rules of business. Here are the current rules that we play by. And so maybe the tariffs get ruled in a different way at the end of October, and maybe they go back to the normal 25% instead of 55%, and then maybe we bring in brine shrimp. But it also doesn't make sense to spend $200,000 on brine shrimp, get them here, and then the price changes. And like, oh, had we waited, we could have gotten them cheaper. And maybe there's refunds, maybe there aren't. So there's a lot of these things of, you don't want to bet the future of all your employees on something like brine shrimp eggs if you don't have to. And if you're like Brine Shrimp Direct, you have to. That's your main bread and butter. Us, it's not our main bread and butter. It's good, but it's a side dish. And so our main bread and butter would be like sponge filters and easy green and some of those things that we would have to. Those are a have to. Brine shrimp is a we'd like to. So, do you see yourself manufacturing more and more in Kentucky? No, it's still have. I don't think we've had a single thing pan out in the United States. Not from a lack of trying. Not a single product outside of 3D printing, like using other companies. Not a single thing has panned out where it was gonna make sense. And it's not like, China will do it for 3 pennies. We need you guys to do it for 3 pennies. It could be like, oh, they'll do it for 3 pennies. You'll do it for 92 cents. Okay, let's do it. Oh, you just won't even do it. Cool. That was a waste of time. And it won't mean that every product, like our rubber bands are made here, our easy greens made here. Like we get a decent amount of stuff, but the stuff that we've tried to bring from overseas manufacturing to United States. The reason we went overseas the first time was because we couldn't find anyone to make it. Now we're trying even harder, and we're still just running into, still can't find anybody to make it. Usually there's a compromise of like, well, we'll make it a worse way. Like they wanted to make the snail collectors in a way that no longer worked. That doesn't work for us. Like it literally, the snails would no longer go inside with that method. So we couldn't do it. We printed it. It doesn't work anymore. They can't print it the way we print it. Like they can't injection mold the way we would print it. China will do it. They know how to do it. But apparently this company doesn't have the tooling or whatever. They just won't do it. So can't do it. So we run into stuff like that. So that's why it's not growing. Why aren't we doing more? Like, it's pretty difficult, honestly. We just haven't had good luck so far. What about a Substrate brand for sale on your website like before? There's always the possibility. It's just expensive to ship Substrate is part of the problem. Shipping goes up, and people's wanting to pay more doesn't usually move at the same speed. So if I said like, yep, you can buy 20 pounds of Substrate for $40, you might go, but I could go into Petco and buy Substrate 20 for 20. And I go, yep, but they're not shipping it to you. And then some people might guess, well, how do they sell it so cheap? Like, no, we can get it that cheap. We bring them by the pallet, and you, if you pay the shipping, as in you drive to our store, we will sell it to you for that. But that's where it breaks down. It's like, yeah, maybe. And then you've got the problem of, for us, like, oh, you bought 2 plants and a bag of Substrate. They can't go in the same box. They'll get crushed. So now it's like extra shipping on the plants that kind of hurts. So we definitely have been looking at that, though. I mean, and every time we run the numbers, we're like, how do we make this work? Like, and then we start asking, is this the problem to solve? Is this the problem we should solve right now? And we usually go like, nope, not the time. Might be time later, but it's not the time right now. I mean, we are evaluating 10 different substrates that came to the store. We're bringing in new substrates for the store. Maybe we'll fall in love with it. Maybe something will work out online too, but it's not from a lack of, in a perfect world, you'd sell everything online always, and everyone would pay the fair value, and it would be easy. But you got to make decisions with the cash flow you have. Do I think people will spend this amount of money for this product based on it costs this shipping? No, I don't think they'll pay that right now. Maybe in a year they would. And then so we don't bring that in. And then in a year later we evaluate it. Maybe we do. So does anyone in the U.S. make brine shrimp eggs? Kind of. And I don't know if I'm 100% correct on this, but my research leads to even the brine shrimp eggs that are made in America are sent to China to be processed. Then they come back to America. The good news is because they originate in America, they don't experience the tariff. But yeah, basically labor is expensive in America, and things we feed to our fish we don't like to be expensive, and brine shrimp eggs are expensive to harvest. So then you harvest them, then you have to, like, I'm going to call it purify them. Get the salt away from them, get the impurities away from them, just have the eggs. That's a labor intensive process. Then you got to package them. Then you got to do all that. Then you got to sell them. So, yeah, could be, for all I know, maybe with the tariffs and everything, they're doing them locally. Businesses change. You read one article and you go, oh, that's the way they were doing it 10 years ago. Doesn't mean they're doing it today that way. But no, there's very few natural brine shrimp things in the United States, and then making them artificially is not easy with land costs and everything either. So, yeah. Is this giant sponge filter real? It's as real as it'll ever get. My AI is not that good. Yeah. It's for nanotanks. All right. I literally have to end this because this is just delaying me cleaning. Picking up PVC parts, sorting PVC parts, and my wife, Dorcula, is going to help me mop the floor because a diatomaceous earth bomb went off in here, and there is lots of white powdery droplets on the floor. If you ever in this situation, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't use food grade diatomaceous earth in a diatomaceous earth aquarium filter. It does not work. It's horribly messy. You actually need the ones that are used for pools. And the difference is one is baked and it changes the chemical composition, and one is not. Even though they're both 100% diatomaceous earth, apparently they are a world of difference. And so when you have to swap out, because the filter I bought holds 4 pounds, when you got to swap out 4 pounds, every little water droplet that falls like explodes and coats everything in like flour based fine white stuff, and it is a nightmare. So it's all over my sink where I was trying to like rinse it out and get all that crap out of there to swap to the new one, and there's like a trail because I had to disconnect plumbing parts, and then it like dribbled on the ground, and like it is a lot of mopping to clean up that disaster. So learn from me. Put this in the back of your brain someday. If you ever need to use a diatomaceous earth aquarium filter, do not use food grade diatomaceous earth. I thought, oh yeah, I'll make sure it's extra safe. Let's get the food grade version. It's fine. It also came in 4-pound packages, which fit my filter perfectly because it takes 4 pounds per charge. And yeah, so now I bought the one that sounds way scarier. I bought Clorox diatomaceous earth with cleaning aid in it, which it is still just 100% diatomaceous earth, but it's been baked so that it is a little bit more coarse and everything, and that's working. So yeah, memorize food grade diatomaceous earth, not good for aquariums. Pool grade, good. Counterintuitive for sure. Otherwise, I'll have a big mess to clean up like I do/did. This is going to be round 2 of cleaning on this mess. So, yeah, put down a tarp. Hindsight's 2020. I did not realize I was going to get into this mess. I was just like, oh, yeah, it'd be fine. A little bit of water on the floor. Not, oh, oops. So, all right. Mark your calendars. Next Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back. We'll have a new topic. We'll be talking. Yeah, I had a great time. Leave a like on your way out. Leave a comment if you really want. You really want to help out. Double back in like an hour or 2 hours and leave a comment. If you're listening, leave a comment. That now more than ever, likes and comments are playing a huge role in what is actually getting any views, because they want engagement. And that's where we're at. So we're in the engagement phase of YouTube right now. So engage. Whether you like or subscribe doesn't matter at all, actually. If you become a member, that's engagement. But yeah. So, all right. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully I got all the goblins and gremlins out of here. And remember to restart my computer before I start next time. There must be something like one of my other meetings or something like locking the microphone. Even though in the software it looks fine and it works, restarting seems to fix it. So I'll remember to restart, reuse, recycle, and I'll see you next week. Go ahead and clean those aquariums and those filters whenever you deem fit. We'll see you later.